evening, my lovelies. Today we are going to talk about something that I don't understand anything of, or didn't until like yesterday or whatever it was. We're going to do some over-the-back stuff, which means I think everything that's difficult in riding, put it in one big bag and stuff it away. That's what I've done with it, at least. Hopefully Hanne will be able to take everything that is difficult about riding and make it easy for us to understand tonight. That's my
Thank you very much.
That's my plan for the evening. Hanne wasn't in on this, obviously, but anyway, you guys understand that we are going to talk about over the back. Over the back has become this. It's almost become a meme. That means many different things, and we are going to try and untangle it and make it easily understandable, because it's difficult enough as it is. We don't have to stuff more stuff into it than is actually there.
But it is quite simple because, as I define it, it's like we've been talking about the two first steps in the training scale, and that is rhythm and looseness or relaxation, or taking away the tension that sort of hindering the horse in finding the rhythm. And those things, if you have those things, the horse is over the back.
Simple. Yeah.
But it's not so easy. It's not so easy to get there. But the next step in the training scale is contact. And in order to get to the contact, you need the horse to be over the back. And if we're using the expression over the back, because you need to have a relaxed horse, the looseness, the throughness, and the rhythm in all the higher levels of the training scale. So if you get to the impulsion, you get to the straightness, you get to collection, and if you haven't got the two first things, prerequisites sort of, then the horse is not doing it correctly. And this thing that is sort of the combination of rhythm and looseness that ends up in something that we call over the back. And we're going to talk a lot about it, and we're going to show me being imperfect, because we're going to talk a little about my problems, because I have a crooked back and very stiff hip joints, and my horse is he used to be not over the back. He used to be a show jumper, and he's very stiff, got a stiff back. And the reason why we're using us as an example is that we need to show what it looks like when it's not correct, or else you won't know. It's easy to show a person or a horse and rider that can do it, but then you don't know how to get there.
All right.
So that is what we're going to do. So so when I say when we're talking about a horse and rider, and people say, "Yeah, this looks good," and I say, "No, it's not good because it's not over the back." That's not something that is really strange. It's just like, for instance, it's not diagonal. And we've been talking about diagonality in several earlier streams.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's all about, if you get to, if you're doing collection, if you're doing a piaffe and the horse is not diagonal, according to the criteria that we've been talking about, then it's not over the back. And the thing about over the back is, if the horse is over the back, it's connected through the like the hind legs and the front legs are sort of moving in rhythm with each other. Then the horse is less prone to getting strain injuries.
Yep.
So all these, you know, these chronic pain injuries that horses get, like, and kissing spines and all those things, they are mostly because the horse is not over the back.
That is likely true.
Mm.
It's the whole over the back idea is in order to manage to do that, to allow the horse to move over the back, what I've found to be most difficult is to not be in the way of the horse.
Yeah.
It's like if you sit down in your saddle and your hips are stiff, then you can't do it. If you want to control all the other things as well, without allowing that over the back thing to happen, then you can't do it. And for me personally, the most difficult thing has been to not interfere with the horse's movements. But still, it isn't enough to just sit up and not interfere. That won't do. You have to balance as well.
Yeah. Shall we say something about what we were discussing a couple of days ago when we were talking about cybernetics and you know, controlling a system?
Please?
Yeah. Yeah, because we were talking about how you sort of cybernetics is about controlling a system, regulating a process, like in the industry, or in an autopilot in a plane or something like that.
Or the self-driving system in your Tesla.
Yeah, things like that. And that is my education, so that is why I tend to think in that way. And and you suddenly understood something that was sort of an
epiphany for me.
Yes, and then I understood also something about you, is that you don't care in cybernetics. The first thing you need to do is understand the system, understand the process that you're going to regulate. So then you see, okay, how does this system move in and by itself without any interference at all? You need to know and understand how that system works, how that plane is moving without any control. Is it stable? Some planes are stable. They don't. So just if you have a paper plane, some of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them are like.
So if you have a paper plane that goes almost straight, but it does a little bit of a roll to one side, then you can bend one of the wings a little bit the one way or the other, and it'll straighten up, and you have done cybernetics now. Yeah,
you have stabilized. Yeah, you have stabilized the process.
Yeah, you have looked at the process. So that you watched what happened to the process, and then you have applied some sort of regulator to make the process.
No, you haven't regulated. You have changed the process, like so that the mechanics of the process is more stable.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to regulate that much.
Yeah. All right.
So what we are trying to do with getting the horse over the back is to make the horse balance by itself, to get the rhythm by itself, and train the horse to be to be stronger in that movement, so that it's easier for us to not interfere with the horse, because that is the first principle. Don't interfere. Don't disturb the horse.
Don't disturb any process.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you want to do.
Yes, and then you can influence on the process.
But first you must measure it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And that's...
But that you do. But if you sit on the horse and the horse just does this with his back, the first thing it does, then you can't get the rhythm.
No.
So then we must find ways to make the horse move with a strong back, like more or less by itself. And we do that. We've done it with the lunging. We've shown how you do that with a young horse, so that he moves in a good way when there is no rider on.
Yeah.
and we're using me as an example in these videos that we're going to show, because I am quite, you know, this stiff movement that I've got. So, and I've got this trouble in my neck, so I really easily get the migraine. And then if I'm riding and it gets too like bumpy, then I get the migraines. So then all my life I've been forced to make the horse move in a good way before, you know, before I do anything more with more energy. So, and I think that's the reason why I've been forced to do this from for a long time then. So, should we? What are we going to do? Should we talk more about
yeah, you
theory?
were talking about you learned something about how I do things.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something about that.
Yes, because you said that you start to regulate at once.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is what it's this whole understanding regulation and all that sort of stuff. It has several interesting ideas around it, and one of them is that if you have a very large or strong engine to correct for things, then measuring the process becomes less important, or it's easier to overlook it, or whatever you want to call it. So it's like this. If you have a little bit of a creek, a waterway, if I look at a waterway and I want to dam it up, I just dam it up.
Yeah.
I don't look at how much water is coming through it. None of that. I just get the tractor or my shovel and I dam it up. And if it keeps more water keeps coming in, I dig more.
You've got more sand.
There's more sand, more power, more just add on more stuff. And this is it's like we're obviously exaggerating this, but it is an idea that my body tends to and likes to use. There is always enough power on tap to just fix things on the fly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens, you can just pour more power into it and it'll be fine. So if the horse bumps, well, that doesn't matter. I'll just take that through or bump a little bit with the horse. It doesn't matter to me at all. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't throw me off. Well, sometimes. But even if I get thrown off, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So that means that I have sort of down-regulated my want for regulation. So what we learned was that what I have to do is first look at the process without my interference into it. And it's very difficult for me. Just before we went live now, our technician, he asked the other two participants to test their microphones, but he didn't ask me because there's always output. It's the same with everything. Energy. There's always so I have to struggle to shut up. And this is what makes what we learned about me in the riding and what we learned about how I view riding lately was based on that thing.
And that is the reason why also that I had to do this demo, because we're going to show now, it's like step 3 in the training scale, and that is contact without impulsion.
Wow.
Yeah. But because Pelle has got so much energy in his body, like just by sitting there. And when he gets up on a horse, the horse says, "Ooh!" And then his hind leg starts kicking up. It's like you can't take it away.
No, I can work towards taking it away. That's the best I can do, I think.
Yeah. So, but because it's important when you're talking about over the back, is important, and getting to the contact is important that we see that it's possible to do this without the energy from the hind legs.
Yep.
Because it's about connection. It's about the swinging back and the relaxation and the horse coming to the contact. You know, it's not the rider who's forcing the horse to get to the contact. It's like not pulling at the reins. It's not.
And it's not pushing the horse onto the hand.
No. And no.
Because
yes.
Because I can do that.
Yeah, and also it's not about just about the reins. The aids is coming to the contact to the aids. So the horse is starting to swing differently with its back, so it's easier to sit on. So that the saddle is sort of lifting up into your seat, and also the belly of the horse is
Chest at least.
Yeah, or it's coming out to the legs.
Yeah, very weird feeling.
Yeah,
brilliant and awesome.
And it's very, very cool. And then the contact becomes soft.
All right.
Many people are afraid of the contact because they think that contact must be harsh, but this kind of contact is not harsh because the horse is actually seeking your contact.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that, I think, explains the thing you were asking him about, or trying to use me as the...
Yeah. So we're going to... We have got many videos.
Many little videos.
Yes. And they might look a little similar, but there are... they are in chronological order, so that in the beginning the horse is a little stiff. It's a long time since I've ridden him, and then you can see all the faults, and then when
hopefully there'll be a progression that we will be able to show,
because you're actually able to see that the horse is taking the contact.
Yeah.
In the last video,
we are going to start the first video, which we have called "Completely Headless Hanne."
Yeah, and now you can see that we're walking, and my objective now is to let the horse stretch his nose forwards and downwards, and this horse has a problem in his back, so he thinks it's difficult to lift his back up, and then his nose will be behind the vertical, even though he stretches.
Yeah. You guys have probably seen this horse several times earlier already, and you will recognize how he moves, how he's got this drop in his back just behind the saddle, and other things. He wants to have straight hind legs. He has all sorts of little ailments that makes it difficult to allow for the correct movement.
And an interesting thing here for you guys is that this horse had, like, he was lame in 3 legs earlier.
At one point, yeah.
At one point, he's been a show jumper, and it shows that when the horse is brought over the back, you can fix chronic lameness. But it takes a long time. It really takes a long time. So, can we have the next? We can just move to the next one. You can see when I'm walking the horse, I'm trying to sit as relaxed as I can with my seat in the saddle. And you can see that Dalton often lifts his head up and tenses in his back. You can see also that his head is going like up, 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 instead of forwards, forwards, and down. And then what I'm doing is I'm sitting as relaxed as I can with my hip joints, with my seat bones in the lowermost part of the saddle. And you see here, he lifts his head, and then I'm doing a half halt, just taking the contact, and then I have to sort of because he doesn't take the contact. So I don't pull at the reins, but I hold like a kilo or something like that in pressure in my hands. I hold there a little, and then I let go forwards. You see, there he goes up with his head. I hold, and then I let go. Yeah, and you see when I let go, he does this again, because his instinct is to tense up in his back and his under neck. So now I'm trying to do the same in trot, And you can see here that I'm bouncing in the saddle, and he is not actually taking the contact. His back goes down and his head goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. It's quite easy to see then that if the horse isn't over the back, if he's tense in his back in some way, the ride is much more jarring and much bumpier. This is a point that's always sort of, it's not contested as such, but many riders have not felt how soft the horse actually becomes.
No.
And it's still, to me, even if I've done this for quite a while, a lot of it, it's still surprising every time I manage properly. It's like, even if I have a really good, my horse is really well connected from behind with this engaged hindquarters and his flexion in all the joints, everything you can read. If my horse does all that and has this massive butt, and still it is much harder to sit than this. And I don't mean harder as in more difficult. I mean harder as in a harder, more jarring movement.
Yeah.
If the movement is jarring, the horse isn't over the back. Doesn't matter how big the stride is, all those things that, you know, my horse's trot is so big I can't sit it. Well, if your horse's trot is so big you can't sit it, you have to do two things. Stretch your hips again and again. And the second thing you need to do is get your horse over the back, because he isn't. If the stride is so big that you can't sit it, so that it becomes hard, the horse isn't over the back and isn't to the contact. Because if the horse was to the contact, it would carry you softly. That is what contact means, isn't it?
And technical thing about that is that, you know, we've been talking about when the horse is in rhythm and loose, and the over the back means that the horse is actually lifting its front end of the back up for each step, so that the withers are lifted up between the shoulder blades of the front legs, so the muscles are sort of or the trunk or the body, the chest is lifted up between the shoulders, and like then you got this and you got suspension, because then all these muscles, because there is no joint between the shoulder blades and the chest, in the skeleton, only muscles. So when it's lifted up like this, and you sit on top of that, and when it sinks down again between all those muscles, it will cushion the fall. But when the horse is just down there all the time, it will sort of all the time, because you're actually sitting on the front legs. You're not sitting on the hind legs.
I know. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So
Run
shall
next.
we see the next one? Yeah.
Run next.
So what I'm trying to do now is, as we said, to get the horse to balance by itself.
Yeah. But at the moment, he's still sort of lifting his head up, which means
He's like
that he's moving down through the withers instead of up through the withers.
So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to sit as still as I can. You can see that my legs are wobbly and stuff. That is because of my stiffness. But that also means that everyone can do this. You don't need to have a perfect seat to get to do it. But you see, I'm sitting on my bum, but still the horse is throwing me out of the saddle. And so I'm doing it quite easily, not doing with energy, because if you start with energy, the horse will tense up even more if it's tense. This horse tenses up big time if you start trying to use impulsion.
So what Hannah is doing is that she's allowing him into a trot rather than sort of trying to make the hind legs fire into an energetic trot. So this is obviously a slight bit slow motion as well, but it's still a very small, very calm trot. It's like a little bit of a jog.
And you can see also when he's starting to move in trot, he's tensing up with his head high, and then I just take a small half halt, and then I need to take the contact. That is not the same as the contact that we want.
No.
But I'm thinking half halt is always contact, and then you let go.
Yeah, so the let go part is sort of the
That is the important
thing.
Yeah. The important part is
Yield
because the
rein.
horse wants to sort of get into that contact that gets away.
Yeah.
The horse leans into the pushes through. When you push a horse, it pushes back. So if you take the contact like that, and you obviously need to use your legs and stuff so the horse doesn't stop. You just try to compact the horse a little, but not hard. Just with some pressure, like not more than 1 kilo, but soft. And then you let go. And then the horse eventually will try the stretch. And then he stretches his whole top line. And that is what we want to do.
That's what we're looking for here.
And we're going to talk more about why this stretch is important.
Yep. Let's keep rolling.
And you can see that I'm sitting on my bum and trying to let the seat bones follow the movement of the saddle.
Yeah, it's obvious that you're trying to be elastic.
Yeah.
And
not disturb him.
Yes.
Whatever he does. And that's difficult.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And the demands on your hip joints is bigger than you are able to.
Yes, that is why I'm a little wobbly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens then is that Hanne has a very good balance sense. She's really, really good at balancing under calm circumstances. So you can see that when the stride gets too big in this, when he's not carrying, then the whole upper body sort of collapses. You can see the whole upper body, it goes into, you can see the lower back swinging and all that sort of stuff. But that is, I wouldn't say that you do it on purpose, but the purpose of it is to allow the energy through when you can't allow it through the hips.
Yeah.
It's sort of that's what happens.
That was my body just does it.
Yeah, because
I have
it wants
such a stiff neck.
The head wants to avoid that movement.
Yeah. But that is not something that you should
no, you shouldn't strive for it,
No.
but we have to explain what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And that is what's going on. You can see that sometimes she's able to really go forward with the hips, and some other times not at all.
That is when he tenses up.
When the horse tenses up, it is impossible to go forward with the hips because the saddle will drop in a completely different way.
Yeah. But you see here that he is tensing up, and then I'm doing the half halt. Sometimes I need to say, don't run, because he really wants to run.
Tension will make for a running horse.
So he needs to learn, no, you don't need to run.
Yeah.
You can do this really easily. Relax. I'm saying that all the time. Relax, take it easy. Just slowly, and he's like, and then
tenses up a lot. So what we're he's getting closer, isn't he?
Yeah, all the time. And the point here is that you need to take time, because you need the horse to understand that it's possible to relax, to just find this swinging motion.
Yep. I have a point that I have to bring up. One of the things that we're looking at here is that it's important now that you all understand that Hanne is doing her best all the time to move her seat, her body in the correct way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it looks good, and sometimes it looks all over the place.
Yeah, that is when the horse is losing his balance.
And this is important to understand. Because it will be the same for you guys out there.
Yeah.
If it is difficult to sit and you feel that you're bouncing all over the place, that's
wrong.
because you're bouncing all over the place, and the horse is bouncing you there.
Then the horse is not over the back.
Yeah, and it isn't because you don't try to do it, and it isn't because the horse doesn't try to do it.
And you need to just don't give up. Just be patient and do it again. Do one more half halt, again and again. And you need to, after each half halt, you need to yield your hands forwards. And it's really difficult because then a stiff horse like this, or a horse that is nervous, will run.
Yeah.
But then you must say, no, dear, just don't run. Easy, and let go. And every time the horse feels that you let go, you say like, thank you. You listened to me, you didn't run. No, easy, and let go. All the time, always let go. Because the point is the horse should be able to balance without any contact.
Yeah, and it's really, really difficult. I was fortunate enough to ride with the chief rider from the Spanish riding school, ex-chief rider from the Spanish riding school once, Arthur Cottas Heldenberg. Arthur Cottas Heldenberg, or some such. And I was riding my old war horse, Hugo, and he was not over the back. He had a very well developed set of hind legs though, which I was proud of, and I was riding with Arthur.
5 lessons.
5 lessons, half an hour each, in a like a 3-day weekend. I have never been so wrung out in my whole life, I think. So what I would do was I would ride on a circle at the trot. And then Arthur would say, but the horse must not run. And I would try and take some contact and slow the horse down. And then he said, but you must let him stretch. Okay, and I let him stretch. And the horse ran. And he said, but the horse must not run. And I shortened it up. And but you must let him stretch. And I did it again. And he did it. Arthur
he
did
didn't say
not
anything else than that.
That's all he worked me on for a full lesson at least. Probably more. I can't remember all of that. But a full lesson, that's all I did. So I spent like half the circle when he could see my face. I spent like this. And the other half of the circle, I spent like this. God damn, I hate this. He doesn't know, nor does he care, I guess, that I was cursing him out.
Because he was right.
He was right all the time. And it got better, but it was so difficult for me. And I didn't get through.
No.
He wasn't able, or I wasn't able, to get through in that time we had allotted to us.
And then he said,
this is, of course, the training of the horse. Thank you. And what he meant was, of course, both that what we see here is the training that has been done with the horse. And what we are seeing right now is the training that needs to be done with the horse.
Yes.
And then at lunch, I asked him, so now I understand that I have to stretch the horse and I have to manage so that he doesn't run. And I will train for that. And I understood it. I understood that I had to, at least. I didn't quite understand the how of it, but I tried to let the horse stretch. But I said, when I get home, I'm going to ride with a Portuguese bullfighter, and he's not going to say stretch the horse. He's going to say shorten him up and make some impulsion. What should I do? Should I not ride with him for a while and just focus on this, or should I? What do you say, oh mighty Arthur? And he said, you need both. Of course, if I wanted that, like, maybe it's easier if I do this than if I do that, but no, you need to do both.
So if you're very good at one, then you had to go back and just practice on those things.
Almost
that you don't
exclusively concentrate on those things that hold you back. That's what Muhammad Ali used to do. All right. So that was my little story. Hanne, maybe we should watch some more movies?
Yes. More me.
More
I hate watching myself, but then, yeah. You can see now he's starting to not be that tense. He's starting to, now he was trying to lift his head again. It's sort of a tension. Horses, when they're afraid or tense, they will let their back down and they will lift their head. And we will talk about the theory, what happens in the horse's back when he coordinates, when he's stretching. But we haven't got the time now. We have to concentrate on what I'm doing. I'm all the time now, I'm trying to sit on my back as well as I can, and then just take a small half hold, like small, in not pulling a lot, just put, like holding a little.
Just find his mouth
wait
and wait a little bit
and give, because not like doing a lot of quick
Fiddling.
things or fiddling around or stuff like that.
because that will tend to tense the horse up again, right?
Yeah, and take away the contact.
Yes.
Because if you're doing this all the time or like fiddling around with the reins, the horse will not trust your hand.
He trusted your hand for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can see that.
Now it looks as his neck is growing
different?
and he's trying to stretch.
Yes.
And that was a much longer stride, and you weren't bouncing.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? And it feels wonderful when that happens.
Good.
Suddenly it's not tiring. It's not tiring to ride. Aha! This is a piaffe. You have to see this. Because we were just, I was just sitting there and asking him to use his legs more. Can you see that he tenses up a lot when I'm asking for impulsion? And then I'm going forwards from that piaffe, and he's really big time tense in his back.
Yep.
And I'm bouncing a lot. So
I thought you did pretty well, actually.
Yeah, because
That's because that's not easy. So he tenses in the piaffe. Even if he sits down behind, he tries to bend his hind legs, but he's really stuck in front, behind the withers, sort of.
Yeah, he's sort of a little too short in his top line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little.
Yeah, of course, you need both. Huh?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You need that as well. So I'm training that as well.
Yeah.
But what I need to do is, because he has got these stiff hind legs that you were talking about.
Stiff, this is important to understand. Stiff doesn't mean that the horse can't bend his hind legs. Of course it doesn't. It means that he's not used to bending his hind legs.
Bending them when they're...
he wants to straighten the leg, and then it touches the ground, and it stays straight until it pushes back off.
Yeah.
And then it bends a little bit in the air. All right, roll next, I think.
Yeah. And you want the horse to stretch to...
You're hiding now.
Yep, I'm in the forest, I think. So let's see now.
One tree doesn't make a forest.
You can see that he's more stable. He's not trying to lift his head and tense his back all the time.
No.
But he's a little behind the vertical.
Yeah.
And so he's not taking the contact yet. But he's starting to become more balanced.
Yeah.
And if I give the reins forwards, he will lose the contact.
Yeah.
But then...
Oh, so there's a sort of a sweet spot. It isn't the longer you make him, the better it is, or the shorter you make him, the better it. There's a sweet spot in the middle.
But if you give too much, the horse will lose the contact.
What does that mean?
Yeah, he has got sort of this. You can feel ideally you should be able to just give and give and give and give, and then the horse will sort of
keep stretching
into the contact all the time.
Mm-hmm. No matter
until
how long
he's like having his muscle at the ground. That is the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give and the horse loses, he does this, then you know there is the stiffness in his back.
Ah, that's all right. So but I've seen now that he has been lifting his head, so even. But you have given beyond that point where he has lifted his head.
Yeah, because he needs to stretch stretch beyond that point, the sticking point. There is a sticking point here somewhere. You can feel that when he's like trying to, and then he can't do it any longer. Then you have to sort of lure him into the want to stretch, and he wants to follow the contact. And then when you give there, and you say, there it broke. And then he tensed up again. And you do it again. And for each time you give, the horse will stretch a little more. And suddenly he says, "Ooh!" Then he goes through that stiff point in his back, and then he will
blow out. All right. Cool.
Can you have the next one?
Roll on. The sun is
And
not
then
rising.
now you can see that he's starting to become more parallel. The
Yeah.
diagonality is starting, you know, the hind cannon and the forearm
Yeah.
are more parallel than
More
they were.
often and closer to correct.
And you can see also that he's foaming in his mouth just by the lips and not more. In the horse, he'll not have so much foam in his mouth that it's dripping or like all over the face. Just this tiny little line.
Can also see that your back is much more stable now.
Yeah, because then I'm able to stabilize because I haven't
Yeah.
got the power to stabilize when he's bouncing around.
I do.
Yeah, and can you see also that my bum is lifted forwards?
Yep.
That is the sign that the horse is starting to get over the back.
Yeah.
And then he lifts me forwards in not bouncing me out of the saddle.
Yeah. I noticed that you kept the horse slightly bent or positioned to the outside.
Yeah, that is because he thinks it's very difficult to bend and being positioned to the left side, to the inside on the left. Yeah, and then that is because
There's a follow-up question, and my follow-up question, what I wonder then is, that means that you prioritize this searching for the contact, finding the contact above straightness.
Yeah, or bending, because
or
it's
bending.
It's
right.
impossible for the horse to bend correctly when it's not over the back.
All right. But this is, of course, this is a given if you look at the training scale.
Yeah.
Because the straightness doesn't come until like second last step. So you must have then impulsion first, before that, and before that again you must have contact, and before that again you must have the horse over the back.
Yeah. So here is the point is getting the horse to lift his back.
Yeah.
And you can do that several ways. Now here I'm showing that just ordinary half holds with both reins.
Yeah.
You can also have like small half holds on only the one rein.
Unilateral half hold.
Yeah. On the inside rein, just position him a little to the inside and let go, because the horse needs to be loose here, and that is what we have been talking about earlier.
Yep.
You can also position him a little to the outside and let go. That is what I'm doing here, because I'm prioritizing the back.
Yep.
And then after, when he's starting to lift his back and move correctly, I can bend him, and then I can bend him with my leg.
Yep.
Because then the horse is more supple in his rib cage.
Yep. Roll on. So change of rein here, of course.
And watch my bum. You can see that it's lifted upwards, and then it doesn't bounce out of the saddle in the same way.
Yeah.
And he's also much more stable, and he's actually searching for my rein.
Yeah. Yeah, he searches for the rein several times. You can see that he's searching sort of his whole head forward.
And even though my hands are not very still, you can see that is because I'm still a little unstable. And then your hand, the hand is as still as the seat is.
Yeah. But it's still enough for him to try and seek
trusting
the
my hand.
contact.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool.
And I'm not doing anything to make him take that contact.
No.
And if I sit like that, the horse will come. Then he's coming to the seat because he's lifting his saddle up into my seat. And then what you can't see now is that he's also, his rib cage is coming out to my leg.
You can see here that he's trying to...
You see the parallelity?
Yeah, it's almost...
And then you can understand why the horse stops like hitting himself and stepping on his shoes and stuff like that when he comes over the back.
Yeah.
Because then the parallelity suddenly is there. So then he's actually moving his front leg before the hind leg comes.
Yeah. Cool. Roll it.
Yeah, you see that he's actually stretching a little?
Yeah.
And I'm trying...
He's actually trying to put his nose a little bit forward.
Yes.
Then. All right.
And then you can, and when the horse is over the back, it feels like the reins are becoming like stiff. So you could push the horse's nose forwards with your reins.
Yeah. I think he blew his nose out there.
Yeah. Because he's trying to lift his head, lift his back.
Yeah.
He's sort of, the head goes down and he's like, ugh.
Yep. Important to note, you're still
him.
not using your legs to try and
No.
activate anything behind, or trying to be very stiff in your upper body in order to sit the horse down. None of that. You're only allowing him to stretch his back, aren't you?
Allowing him to bounce the way he's bouncing. I'm not trying to regulate his back. I'm trying.
You're trying to sort of understand or feel what his natural rhythm is.
Yes.
I have.
He needs to find his
very
rhythm.
difficult to accept that there's a natural rhythm, but there is.
Yeah, there is.
All right. Roll next, please.
If there is a next.
When there's a next, if whatever. And if there isn't, we know what to look for now. Yeah, there we go.
Well, yeah, this is the walk one when he's really tense. Can you see this? Now he's become tense again. So and then you could really see the half holds, I think. Yeah. You know, I'm holding now, and then you need to be able to sort of suffer that he will tense up a little more. And do this, and then I just holding, and then I let go. You see that?
Are you looking for a specific feeling before you let go?
Yeah, but that is training. You have to just
train.
I can't explain it.
So what I do is I'm not always able to feel that specific thing. So what I will do is I'll do a half hold and I'll let go anyway.
Yeah.
And then I will sort of run after myself and make a note of that worked to this extent or that extent.
Good idea, because that is the only way you can learn it.
So do half holds. That has been sort of a mantra for dressage riders forever, hasn't it?
Yeah. Half holds, and you need to give
a rebalancing.
And if you don't take, you can't give.
All right, cool.
But see, I usually say to my students, give as often as you can. Give, because then eventually the horse will think, okay, I can stretch. Because if the horse has been ridden very cramped up, then he doesn't trust that he can stretch. Perhaps he can't even do it because he's so tense in his back and his neck.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that he's so extremely tense. It can also be quite simply that the musculature is used to being in that position.
Yeah, that was what I meant. Yeah.
So make no mistake here. It isn't because somebody has been evil or anything like that. It is because the musculature has now confirmed to whatever how the horse has been ridden or how the horse has moved until that point.
Yeah. So this is something that you have to learn in order to help the horse to come into something that is relaxation.
Yeah.
And rhythm.
Yeah. It's just like we always talk about this in human movement. If you sit a lot with your hips at a 90-degree angle, your hips become really good at being at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. They become really good at it. It's not that it doesn't mean that it's wrong or that you are lazy or anything like that, but that has happened. And now maybe we must make something else happen. And that's what you do with that stretching. You allow the horse to stretch. Because I want to talk about this allowing the horse to stretch a little bit. I think this is important. It's a difficult thing to understand. When I try to stretch my hips, it isn't comfortable.
No.
But when I've tried a few times, there's sort of a part of me that goes, oh, but I have to move into that area there, and that hurts like anything, and I'm like, oh, that's the spot, and I try to stretch even more. And it's not something I have to force myself to do.
No,
the forcing myself is to start it at all, because my ADHD brain goes whee and wants to do a simple thing instead.
I know.
And wants to apply more power. But that doesn't work at stretching mostly.
But you see that in horses as well. When they start understanding this thing,
Yeah.
they get very interested.
Yes.
And they
I've
want
noticed
to
that.
stretch, and they're like
Yeah.
showing you where the trouble is. They're
Yeah.
like, if I do this, and
Yeah.
often they're like,
Yeah, you can hear them grunting for a while. Yep, that's interesting.
yeah,
And often when they blow out, you can often feel a qualitative change in the
Yes.
gate instantly.
And you can see it as well.
Feel it while they blow out. You go, and then the whole seat moves differently. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there yet more video?
No, this is the last one.
Last one? This?
Can we see it once again?
Yeah, there is one more.
Yeah.
Is there one more?
There
Yeah.
you go.
Ah.
I'm awesome. I knew. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, now he's stretching. Now he's actually searching for the contact. Can you see?
Yeah. And the movement is quite a lot larger
Yeah.
in your hips and stuff than it's been until that point.
Yeah,
but you're
because
still not bouncing.
Because he is not bouncing. He's like taking a longer stride. Then the stride is like this instead of.
It's like driving down the road, the farm road we have here
Yes.
on the blue old tractor
Yeah.
from 1970,
Look at that.
or
Look at
in
that.
the Citroen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
lost it,
And you can see.
but he dared to come back to it.
Because now he's got the idea.
Ah.
And he's 17 years old, and it's taken me 5 years to teach him this. So of course he gets stiff when there is it's a long time since we trained.
It must be said that he has been trained not every day for those 5 years.
No, because I haven't got the capacity.
Not at all. So that doesn't mean that you'll have to spend 5 years if you really work on it.
It
Right?
depends on the horse and on the trouble and the rider and all. But the point is that
Could stop the video now. Yeah.
the point is that you need to be patient.
Right. I was I wanted to have a look at this what is this over the back in like a anatomical perspective. I had, that's the other little epiphany thingy I had. Oh, by the way, before I forget, ask, right? Remember, ask questions.
Yeah. Because you asked a question.
Yeah.
You said this is not logical.
I couldn't find the logic. Because in my estimation, the movement has to start from the hind hoof and with a push from the hind hoof. That's what I want to happen. And that is, of course, the goal. That's sort of the end product, isn't it? So if it starts from the hind hoof properly, then it is quite likely that you have all the 5, 6.
Yeah,
but and I've struggled to do that for the longest time, but I've not been able to, even if my horses are very strong and athletic. I haven't been able to get it quite right
until now.
Yeah. When I understood this completely new idea.
And if you this last video that we saw, if you guys get back and watch that several times, you can see that the horse is starting to kick off with its hind legs, and he's doing that automatically because when the back is moving, the horse can no longer push off with his front legs.
This is, for me, extremely, it was so hard to understand because that push off that Hanne talks about is not the push off that I was able to produce. I was able to produce push off from the hind legs, lots and lots of power, lots and lots
Wonderful
of
piafs.
Horse sitting down, all sorts of stuff like that, but I wasn't able to bring it forward because there was a piece lacking, and it was this sheet.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I was explaining because we talked about how the horse becomes diagonal when it's over the back, and you said this is not logical, and then I was talking about the structures in the horse's back, the fascia. Let's talk about the fascia in the back.
So ignore everything else. Fascia.
Yeah, there
only at the
we
moment.
talk about some of the
Fascia
other
and
stuff.
skeleton.
Yes, you
Right.
see the horse's skeleton, and their fascia is sort of some tissue, like really strong and little sticky, that is connecting both muscles and skeletons. You can see. Imagine a bed sheet over the horse's back. You put this bed sheet over the horse, and then you tie a knot in each corner of the sheet. You tie a knot around each leg, and you tighten it.
On the top.
On the top of the back of the horse, there is this sheet, and this resembles that sheet of fascia that is actually connecting all the horse's legs. And this fascia is actually controlling the horse's movement. Like, so if you stretch it like diagonally, you get the horse will sort of feel that it's easier to move in a diagonal way. Yeah, like that. And this happens also in the canter, because canter is also a diagonal thing. The horse does this,
Yeah.
and then there is one diagonal.
Yeah, and the
And
others are floating a little bit. But you say that this controls or makes or forces the movement, but that isn't what that has always been the trouble for me to understand, because obviously it doesn't.
No, not all the time.
No,
because if the horse
you don't
tenses
have
up,
to.
if the horse tenses up, this does this.
Yeah, so everything just goes like this,
Yeah.
and this isn't a thing anymore.
No, because the horse can't feel it, because it's sort of too short for its own sheet.
So if you shorten the horse up too early, this happens.
Yeah, because you haven't
And then you have no diagonal.
No.
And then the horse has no diagonality.
And then it starts stumbling. It starts
can.
stepping on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
But if you stretch the horse, the sheet will stretch,
Yeah.
and then the horse will sort of come into contact with his own fascia
All right.
and his own ligaments, because there is also the back ligaments. The ligaments are like cables of strong, like a biological wire that goes from the pelvis to the withers.
Yeah.
And from the withers to the neck.
A ligament is you have tendons and you have ligaments. Like we have tendons, for instance. Here there's tendons.
A big one, yeah.
It connects
Mine is not that
this.
big.
It connects this muscle to the lower arm. And this here tendon, it goes from a muscle to a bone.
Yeah.
That's a tendon. A ligament goes from a bone to another bone. So for instance, just below your kneecap, there's a big ligament. It goes from the kneecap to the shin. That is a ligament.
So there is a ligament going from the pelvis all through the back, and to the withers.
Yeah. Right.
And also a ligament from the withers to sort of the pole behind
to the head, right?
Yeah, a little behind there. And then when the horse is stretching, that ligament is sort of stretched out as well, so the horse can feel that ligament and sort of swing along the ligament. And also when he stretches his neck forwards, the what's it called, those
I can't remember the name of those.
The
protrusions
vertebrae.
from the vertebrae.
Yeah, the vertebrae are like this, and then they have this.
Yeah, just in the wither, there's a very, very long. What do you call those? Anybody know what those are called? No.
No,
that's all right.
But the wither is like this, and if you pull here, you're the back ligament, and I'm the neck ligament. This happens to the neck.
Withers. All right.
The withers are these ones are open,
Yeah.
and then you haven't got the kissing spines, you know.
Yeah.
So you do this when you're stretching the horse, and then you never get those kissing spines.
If
And
you manage.
also, then if you get this, you also get the withers to lift.
Yep.
And then the horse get used to this movement with the swinging back. And when you start, when you come to the contact, and then you come to the impulsion, and if you continue this swinging and continue with this, and with the stretching out of the back into the sheet, then you will continue to get the right rhythm and the right looseness, this swinging relaxation, all through the rest of the steps in the training skill.
Yeah. So what I had to do to understand this thing was to switch my focus from legs and energy and hindquarters and neck and whatever, and just think about this here, back and
Stretching the sheet.
I let the sheet do that, and then I switch and let the sheet and let the sheet
and then
go
you
back and forth like that.
Yeah.
And when I allow for that, the horse is allowed to move properly. And when you do that, this strange thing with the rhythm and parallelity and all that happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And then it's easy to sit.
It is. Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
Yeah.
But I had fun, at least.
Good.
So, what we are going to do now is to make a new episode for the 16th of February. That's the plan.
Then we're going to talk more about contact.
It's contact.
I think we should do that once more. And
so no more rhythm and business.
Yeah,
no easy contact. No easy jokes for me.
No, but yeah, I think we have to talk about rhythm all the time, because the rhythm is so
rhythm is life.
Fundamental. You need it all the time.
Yeah.
If you lose the rhythm, you need to go back and find it again, and then you can go up. But I think we're going to talk more about contact. And also look at impulsion and see what happens when you have the rhythm, you have the back, and then you start pushing off from the hind legs. And that is really a cool thing, because then the whole horse lifts. And then the trot extensions are going to be much more easy to sit on.
So hopefully, if all the ice disappears, we will be able to show all of this.
Yeah.
Right. We would like you to like us on Facebook, obviously.
Because then you get the message every time we do this.
Yeah. You do. Also, obviously, share any suggestions you must have about what you want us to talk about. Not enough of that. There's no questions, I suppose. No? Good. I think that's all we have to say for today.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for following. We had fun. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.